Do you know what this is? Well, we'll have the answer for you as we pay our weekly visit to Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store. And here's your host and store owner of Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store, Jacob Pyle.
Thank you very much, and welcome to my Antique Electronics Store. My name is Jacob Pyle. Glad to have you with us. Each week inside Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store, I'm going to be reintroducing you to some of the most fascinating and retro tech that you can find anywhere. Last week we took a look at some very old electronic handheld games. We introduced you to three of the oldest electronic games there was: Merlin, Mattel Football, and Tiger Sonic the Hedgehog video game. Now this week we're going to get more into detail about handheld video gaming consoles. But before we get into all that, let me answer a few questions for all you younger viewers out there watching. For starters, I'm sure you are wondering if you can download apps to these. The answer is no. Most of these handheld gaming devices that I will be introducing you all today do not have apps you download to it. The reason for that is these handheld gaming devices were introduced to the market back in the 1980s, and back then there were no such things as apps to download to it. So then this question arises. Okay, so if you can't download apps to it, how do you play games on these? Well, all the handheld gaming devices I will be introducing you to today came in the form of cartridges. In each of these, and I will happily demonstrate how these work later in the show, but each cartridge has a different game. The one thing to remember about these cartridges is none of these devices won't let you play cartridges from a different gaming system. And again, I will get into all that a little later in the show as well. But while each of these handheld gaming consoles I will be showing you guys this week have very similar features and act very similarly as the other handheld gaming devices, there is something unique about each one. When we come back, we introduce you to the very first ever handheld gaming console ever made. We'll be right back. Now before I get into each of these games, I would like to quickly issue this disclaimer. I am not a commercial spokesperson. I do not endorse any of these electronics that you see on the show. And also, I am discovering these games for the first time as of the date this program was recorded. These have not been touched or played by me prior to this. So with all that being said, we begin our concluding look at games made to fit in the palm of your hand with a little something known as the Game Boy, the very first ever electronic handheld gaming console. When it first made its premiere, it was announced that it had similar gaming features as the original Nintendo Entertainment System. In fact, this gaming console, when Nintendo advertised it, said that it basically combined all the features of the NES into this handheld device. I'll let this advertisement speak for itself.
Honey, where's Andrew?
He's playing Nintendo. You'd better unplug the system.
There you are, Andrew. Come on, let's go.
Dad, wait, I'm about to work.
Time to go. Lots of sleep. We gotta go, buddy. Come on, come on.
Dad, come on.
Come on.
Dad.
Champa's waiting for us. Everybody's waiting. Come on, let's go. The bus is coming. Come on, come on. We gotta go.
The secret to Nintendo's success lies in bringing arcade game quality into the home. Taking it out of the home is another story.
You can take it to the lake. You can take it on a date. You can take it to a boring picture show. Ha! You can take it to the game. Ow! You can take it on a plane. You can take it anywhere you want to go. Go.
with the power of the NES right in the palm of your hand. Game Boy, the state-of-the-art compact video game system for portable handheld video action.
Okay, so this is the Nintendo Game Boy. Let me show you the basic rundown here. First off, you got this cool little dot matrix display screen right here. And if we go down, you got also you got a battery indicator light right here. If you go down here, you got the controller pad that'll go either up, down, left, or right. You got the A/B buttons right here, and then the select start button right over here. And then you also have a place where you can plug in your headphones. On the side, you got the contrast dial and an AC adapter if you want to plug the Game Boy in to an AC adapter. Then if you go on top, you got the on-off switch. In the back, you got the cartridge slot up here, and then the battery compartment, which holds up to four AA batteries. Now, these are the actual cartridges for the Game Boy. I'm showing off Tetris here as an example. So with that being said, I'm going to plug the Tetris game in. I'm going to turn it on and see if it works. It works, surprisingly enough. For some reason the controls on this game aren't working. But this is really a good, but I hope this gives you some kind of demonstration as how the game works. See if I can try one more time to get it to work. Apparently the controller pad and the selects but not the A and B button. That's strange. But anyway, the Game Boy is a really fun gaming device to play on, and yeah. No. In any event, this gives you some general idea as far as what the Game Boy can do. The only downside, of course, is the screen, of course, only plays in black and white. Of course, they will come out with a color version of the Game Boy later on and stuff, but really, for good portable fun on the go, you can't go wrong with this. When we return, I will introduce you to Sega's response to the Game Boy entitled The Game Gear. But before we do, I have a trivia question I would like to ask you concerning a hidden feature that most of your older audience Game Gear fans might not be familiar with that involves a special cartridge you plug into the system. Is it an internet cartridge, a TV tuner, or a personal computer? I'll have the answer for you when Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store continues. We are back. So did you catch the question I asked before the break? Here it is. The Game Gear has a hidden feature that involves a special cartridge you plug into the system. Is it an internet cartridge, a TV tuner, or a personal computer? Well, believe it or not, the answer is a TV tuner. Back in the old days, prior to everything going digital, and most TVs requiring a digital box to pick up signals, if you didn't have cable, if you weren't paying for cable at the time, you had an antenna that went on top of your TV that could be used for picking up antenna signals. Well, the Sega Game Gear TV tuner was an adapter cartridge made to be put into the Sega Game Gear, and it would allow you to watch your favorite TV shows on the go. Of course, nowadays, thanks to the digital adapter rule, it would be difficult to use because, again, All it has is an antenna and a dial tuner, similar to the ones you would find on a radio. But besides that little downer, it can still be used for playing video games. And there is one thing I can show you that makes the Game Gear stand out from the Game Boy, which we will get to in a moment. But for right now, here's an old commercial to demonstrate what the Game Gear can do. Take a look.
Some people are content to be entertained by simple one-color electronics. Somehow these people have just never heard of Game Gear, the multicolor portable from Sega with tons of new titles. Yeah, some people are like that, but then some people like to eat pickled pork lips.
Okay, so this is the Sega Game Gear. Pretty much the same thing as you've seen with the Game Boy. It's got a controller pad. This controller pad though is a little different, but it's more like I think it's more like a joystick than it is a regular controller pad. And then you got the same buttons over here. However, they do not label these A and B. They label them 1 and 2. Then of course you got the start button up here. Go on top. You have the volume control, a place where you can plug your headphones, an external port if you want to. Is there a way I can take this off? Let's see, I can probably. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's an external port that can be used if you want to plug in another Game Gear. Then of course you got a DC adapter and a power switch. And then of course you got the cartridge slot up here. And then these are battery compartments that hold up to 6 AA's each. You talk about a lot of batteries here. I think it's a lot more than the Game Boy has. Now these are the actual cartridges for the Game Gear. I would say that these are about the same size as compared to the Game Boy cartridge. One thing though that you have to remember about this is, very simply, you cannot play Game Gear games in a Game Boy and vice versa. So now I'm going to plug this in and turn the game on, and I will show you the difference here. Now, the one thing that makes this so unique as compared to the Game Boy, as you can tell, that's not a black and white image; it's a color image. Sega. And as you can tell, I'm going to turn the contrast down a little bit. The sound it comes and goes on the sound. It's not, for some reason the sound's not wanting to come on, but I'm not worried about that. At least I can play the game. Now I'm going to demonstrate with a little bit of Pong. Okay. Normally I'm really good at this game. The trick to the game though is know where the ball is going to be at next, because you never can tell sometimes. There we go. Man. But basically, this should give you some general idea as to how the game works. It's really fun. The games in color make it really cool to play with. And if you're willing to spend money on batteries or AC adapter, I mean, this will make a good collection. I hope you liked our little look at the Game Gear. Coming up after the break, though, we will introduce you all to Tiger Electronics competition to the Game Boy called GameCom. If you think the Game Boy and Game Gear are awesome, you don't want to miss this. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now I'd like to introduce you to Tiger's GameCom. Now again, as all the other handheld gaming consoles we've introduced you to this week, this has unique features on it as well, which I'm looking forward to sharing with you all. Here's a commercial to prove my point.
What's there to do?
Nothing.
Did that yesterday. I miss Wheel of Fortune.
Could I tempt you with a little GameCom? Games on demand.
Are we allowed to demand?
Wheel of Fortune!
Give my right wing!
Casino game!
Casino game!
Ooh, a touch screen! How divine!
Arcade classics? Indy 500?
I hear Gamecom.
I'm out of here. GameCom!
Okay, so this is Tiger's GameCom. This is the screen, and this is not just a screen, it's actually a touch screen, because there's a pen right here. You got a controller pad, very similar to the one that they had for the Game Gear. And then you got the A, B, C, D buttons. There's a button up here that turns the game off, and you got your menu, your sound, and then the pause button. And then on the side is the cartridge slot that can hold, and yes, you are looking at this correctly, it can hold up to 2 games at once. Now what I hold in my hand are actual cartridges to the GameCom. These are very, very small compared to the Game Boy or Game Gear cartridges. But what makes the GameCom so unique is that it can actually hold up to 2 cartridges at one time. And then of course then over here, if you actually let's go to the top first. On top you got an AC adapter and a computer port, which can be used to load stuff into the thing, or I mean, it can, again, as with the Game Boy, it can be used for 2-player action with 2 GameComs. And then over here, as before, you got your battery compartment down here. If I can get it open, there we go. And it takes 4 AA batteries. This thing is a sucker to close. There we go. And then over here, and then here you got a backup battery door, which basically it's like, which you can use like a coin battery, or like I call them coin batteries because they look like coins. Alright, so I guess with that being said, now I'm going to show you the features of this GameCom, because there's plenty more features where that came from. So I'm going to turn this on. I don't know if you can hear the sound really well or not. Okay, so in addition to the cartridge, you also have a phone book like that. And then you also have a calendar, which will allow you. This is April 1997. This one. Yeah, apparently the calendar on this one needs. I need to update this to the current year. And then of course you got a calculator. $45 plus 45 equals 90. Huh, interesting. And then this just displays your high scores. And then there's a built-in game on here called Solitaire. And I'll play a little bit of it. So I'm not gonna. And then yeah, so but anyway, yeah, that's now to access the cartridges you play. As I said, it can play up to 2 cartridges. You'll come up with a menu like this where you get to choose which game you want. You want to play Henry, like I have Henry, and Lights Out. Just whatever cartridges you insert in the system. So I'm going to do Lights Out. And Lights Out, in this game, if you have not heard of it, basically it's a puzzle game. So basically what you have to do is you have to turn all the lights out. Your goal is to turn all the lights out in as few moves as possible. Oh, maybe I should not have done that. Here we go. Okay, so that's basically how you play that. And then I'm going to also show you Henry. So basically in Henry, you have to, how it works is, if I can get this, come on. Oh. So basically what happens is you get a picture like this, and then you have to, it's basically a memory game. You just have to find, you just have to figure out where everything is. I'm just going to guess. Nope. And you have to remember where everything is either.
Good show, old chap.
Dang, if it was my turn and I clicked that, I would have matched. Well, anyway, your goal in Henry is to make sure that you get, if you get any 4 in a row, you win. So that's basically how you play Henry. Okay. So overall, this is a really good game to play. A really cool handheld console, and it's it's interesting. It's a lot of fun. It's a PDA and a gaming console all in one, and it's not. And I found something, and that's pretty much it's a pretty interesting game, and that's how it usually works. Alright, so there you have it, our look at our top 3 handheld gaming consoles of all time. But when we come back in this week's Interesting Tech of the Week, there's actually a way you can play your favorite Game Boy games on the TV. I'll show you how when we return. Welcome back. In 1994, Game Boy games have been blowing through the roof, so much so that a couple of years after the Super Nintendo was released, they wanted a way to play your favorite Game Boy games on the TV. Well, let me introduce you to Super Game Boy. The cartridge adapter has a small little cartridge slot that can be used for reading Game Boy games. And when plugged into the Super Nintendo system, you can play these games. You can choose colors for the games, different frames, and some game cartridges at the time had a built-in color palette made specifically for the game you are playing. As for the controls you'll be playing the games with are on your Super Nintendo game controller. Here's a quick look. Here's a little look at how the game cartridge works. Okay, so this is the Super Game Boy right here. I'm going to plug Tetris in. And then what you do is this is the Super Nintendo, obviously. You plug it into the Super Nintendo and turn the game on like that. Alright, and this is what it looks like. Play on the TV right here. You see, you can tell compared to the original Game Boy how the game screen is bigger, and you can do a lot more things with it than you would do with the Game Boy. So here I'm going to play a little bit of Tetris here just to demonstrate. And of course here's the controller for the Super Nintendo. This is basically what you're using here. Same as before, you got your left and right, and then your A and B right here, and your select and start. And you can always, and if you hit the, and if I can demonstrate here, I have to press both. If you press the L and R buttons at the same time, a menu will pop up. And then if you press the L and R buttons at the same time, a menu will pop up. And you can always change the controls by using, in this menu here, you got type A and type B, like that. And then some of the other menu features here, you can choose the color, you can choose the type of color palette you want on it. You can, they got different kinds. You can play in the original black and white, or if you rather do color. I prefer the original black and white myself, though. But then, and then you put, and then you can choose. And then you can also choose, this menu is the frames, so you can kind of choose which frame you like. There you go. That looks nice, doesn't it? Or you can even create your own frame too. And over here, you can create. This is where you can kind of create your own color palette. And then this is where you can actually draw your own frame, even if you want, which I'm not going to attempt to do, but yeah, I think you get the hang of it. So let's play a little bit of Tetris here. Actually, hang on. I want to get this back to the Game Boy mode first. As was mentioned last week, in Tetris, your goal is to score as many lines as you possibly can. Tetris is basically a puzzle game. It's a lot of fun to play. Shoot, screwed that one up. But there you go. That's pretty much how the Super Game Boy works. It's a lot of fun to play and a lot of fun to try. And I hope you get to try it too sometime soon as well. Join us next week where we will have some more retro and antique tech for all of you. I hope you join us then. And until then, I thank you for visiting Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store. I'm Jacob Pyle. Our store is closed. Good night.